let's understand how put option buyer's position works. Before we do that, just a quick reminder that an option is a contract that gives the holder the right but not the obligation to buy or sell an underlying asset. In our case, the underlying asset happens to be foreign currency, and you have two types of options. You have call option, which gives the holder the right to buy foreign currency. You have put option, which gives the holder the right to sell the underlying asset, which happens to be foreign currency in our case. So for each type of these contracts, you have a buyer and seller. So you have a buyer or holder of call option, and you have a seller or writer of call option. The same thing goes for put option. So you have a buyer or holder of put option, and this is the party that has the right but not the obligation to sell the foreign currency. And then you have a seller or writer of put option, and this is the party who has to honor the contract and buy the foreign currency from the put option buyer if the put option buyer chooses to exercise this contract. So we have a video covering each one of these four positions, and this video covers the put option buyer. So let's take a look. And in order to understand how put option buyer and his or her position works, it's going to be easiest to work with the numerical example. So let's say we're looking at put options written on British pounds, and in that case our contract size is 31,250, and this small p stands for put premium, so this is the price you have to pay to buy this put option. Since put option gives you the right to sell pounds but not the obligation, it will have a value. So let's say in our case we're talking about put option premium of 15 cents per pound. SD is our future spot exchange rate at expiration. We do not know this, so this is what the exchange rate will be at the spot market in 3 months or 6 months or 1 year from today, whatever happens to be our expiration date. E stands for our exercise rate or strike price, and in our case, let's say our exercise price is $1.50 per pound, which means you as a put option buyer have the right to sell pounds for $1.50, and obviously you do not have to do that. So let's take a look at the payoff and profit at expiration. So payoff is simply referring to what the payoff will be if you were to exercise or not exercise. Profit takes the premium into account. So remember that in the future there are really three possible scenarios. So in the future, spot rate could be greater than your exercise rate of $1.50, or the spot rate could be exactly the same as the exercise rate of $1.50, or in the future spot rate could be lower than your exercise rate of $1.50. So you really have three possible scenarios. So for each one of these scenarios, we have to think about, okay, whether you will exercise this contract or not as a put option buyer. And if you were to do so, what's the payoff, and what's the profit going to be in each one of these scenarios? So let's take a look. So in the future, let's say spot rate at expiration happens to be $1.70 per pound. So obviously this is higher than your exercise rate of $1.50. So in this case, you as a put buyer, you will not exercise this contract, right? Because why would you sell your pounds for $1.50 according to the put option contract when you can just sell them at the spot market for $1.70? So you will not exercise this contract because you always want to sell at the higher price, and such put options are called or said to be out of money. So obviously your payoff is going to be zero because you are not going to exercise this contract, so there's no payoff from this contract. Profit, on the other hand, is different, right? So this is your payoff minus the 15 cents you paid for premium. So your profit, on the other hand, is actually a loss of 15 cents per pound. And if you wanted to compute the loss for the entire contract, you would simply multiply it by 31,250, which is your contract size. And if I were to write a generic notation for the profit or loss, in this case, it's just simply your premium. So you'll be losing your premium. What if in the future spot rate happens to be exactly the same as your exercise rate of $1.50. In that case, you will again not exercise this contract, right? Because, I mean, why would you bother when you will get exactly the same $1.50 rate on the spot market? And these contracts, are said to be at the money. So when future spot rate and exercise rate are the same, put option contracts or even also call option contracts are said to be at the money. So since you are not exercising this contract, your payoff is 0. Again, you will be then losing your premium of 15 cents. So this is how much you paid upfront for this contract. But in the future, let's say future spot rate happened to be $1.30 per pound. So that's lower than your exercise rate of $1.50. In this case, you want to exercise your put option because then you can sell your pounds at the higher rate of $1.50 instead of the $1.30 spot rate. In this case, put options are said to be in the money. So when you sell your pounds for $1.50, your payoff is the difference between $1.50 exercise rate and your spot rate of $1.30. Because in other words, you could go to the spot market and buy pounds for $1.30 and turn around and sell them for $1.50 according to the put option contract. Then you will be making 20 cents per pound. So if I were to write the generic notation for it, it's the difference between exercise rate and the future spot rate. Profit, on the other hand, is this 20-cent payoff minus the premium of 15 cents that you paid, and therefore it will be 5 cents per pound. And again, you can multiply it by 31,250 to figure out what the total profit is. If I were to write generic notation, it's the difference between exercise rate and the future spot rate minus your premium. So that's what your profit is going to be. Now let's take a look at what the maximum possible profit is for put option buyer. So as you can see here, when the future spot rate is higher than the exercise rate, or if the future spot rate is the same as the exercise rate, you do not really make money and you do not exercise this contract. But when in the future, if future spot rate happens to be lower than your exercise rate, you are exercising this put option, and then you have positive payoff, and then you can have positive profit too. So if we take this further and keep lowering the future spot rate, it will be even better for us. So theoretically, when future spot rate happens to be 0, right, that's the lowest possible exchange rate that there could be. So theoretically, at this extreme, you will make the most money. So if future spot rate happens to be 0 or almost 0, you still have a right to sell each pound for $1.50 according to this contract, and each one of them is really worth nothing or worthless in the spot market. So this is your payoff, and then let's subtract your premium of 15 cents per pound, and you get $1.35 per pound. So this is the maximum possible profit that you can make as a put option buyer on a per pound basis. So generic expression would be the difference between exercise rate and your premium. But how about maximum possible loss then? So remember that put option is a contract that gives the holder or the buyer the right to sell pounds for $1.50, but you do not have to do so. So as we can see here, when the future spot rate happens to be the same as the exercise rate or higher, we simply do not exercise the contract. So whenever the future spot rate is not in our favor, we simply do not exercise this contract and we just lose our premium. So the most you can lose is simply your premium of 15 cents. So the most that you can lose, maximum possible loss, is simply your premium. Then at what future spot rate will you break even as a put option buyer? In other words, you do not make money, you do not lose money. So we can actually solve for this. So what you're solving is at what future rate the positive payoff we make from exercising this contract is the same as the premium. So our exercise rate happens to be $1.50. So we solve for that future spot rate. That will generate positive payoff of 15 cents per pound. to cover our premium. And from here we see that future spot rate of $1.35 per pound will give us payoff of 15 cents. So when future spot rate is exercise minus premium, we break even. In other words, we do not make money or we do not lose money. So if we were to depict this on a figure, if we were to depict put option buyer payoff profile, this is what it looks like. As you can see, it lowered the future spot rate, more money you make, but there's a maximum possible amount there, which happens to be $1.35 in our case. And after some point, you will not exercise the contract and simply lose the premium. So that's the most you're going to lose. So this is what put option buyer's position looks like.